Hey there, Sam here at Model Chili Scale Models, and here is Bandai's 1/12 scale Boba Fett, which I'm going to be customising as a Mandalorian Sniper. And I haven't actually built this kit before, so let's start by cracking the box open and having a look at the parts inside. Okay, so just quickly running through, just all in a typical Bandai fashion. They've all been pre-coloured. And the jetpack here, which I'm not going to be using for this build. I'm going to be saving that for another project in the near future. Some of the black shiny parts for the visor, stand and feet. And I'm also hoping to fashion some real fabric parts for the this particular sniper build. And there's the cloth parts of the body armour. And so what I'm going to be doing is first removing all of these pieces and all the other sprues, and then just spraying with a light grey primer, so similar to this colour. And so that'll just give me a nice even base colour to start off with all my custom paintwork. And lastly, the decals, just the usual sticky and water slide options, and the instruction booklet with the paint guide, which I won't be using, and also the decal guide, which I might use some of the decals, but I'll also be fishing around all the leftover decals from previous figure kits that I haven't used yet, so hopefully some of those will come in handy. Okay, so actually before I do start priming, I'm just going to clean up all of these dents that Boba Fett has in his armour. So look on the helmet and then on the groin piece there. He's a bit of a careless bounty hunter really. So just to make this build a little bit different from Boba Fett, I'm just going to fill those in with a bit of Tamiya putty. And once these have dried up, I'll just sand them back with a bit of fine sandpaper. So that's the all the parts primed up, and Tamiya's surface primer, and that's nicely covered up the putty that I've used to fill in some of those dents. And so now I've broken down the parts into two main areas. So I've got the harder surface armour on this section, and all the cloth underneath on this section. So it's going to be two main different colours there. And now I need to start thinking about what colours I want to use, and I've been thinking about a jungle, foresty kind of camouflage theme, so I've gone and pulled out all of the greens from a paint drawer, just all the Vallejo Model Air. So I've got just pale green there, and standard green, also Russian green, and some browns like desert tan. I still haven't decided what I'm going to be using specifically just yet, so I need to have a bit more of a think about that, and then we'll start spraying. Okay, so for the main bodysuit, I've decided to go for Vallejo Model Air US Desert Armour, which is just a nice light brown sandy colour. And now that those parts are painted, what I'm going to do next is start putting them all together, so I can just double check if there's any areas that I've missed, and then apply a gloss clear coat using Tamiya TS13, and that'll just get everything ready for weathering and a wash. So for the armour plates of the helmet and the chest area, I'm just going with Vallejo's Camouflage Green. And now for the helmet highlight, which is the front of the visor and part of the back. I'm going to try a bit of Vallejo gold. So I've just been test fitting this gold faceplate with the other section of the helmet to see how it looks with the green, and I'm not quite happy with that colour combo in particular, so I'm just going to repaint these gold parts with some copper, which is going to be my second choice, and we'll see how that looks. Okay, so now that all the painted parts have been given a gloss coat, what I'm going to do now is just a bit of detail painting, and what I'm going to do on the cloth pieces is actually do a little bit of green camouflage. So what I'm going to do is get a piece of strip of sponge that I've cut off a big block, just for a nice random edge, and dip it in a little pool of paint. I'm just using Vallejo's just basic green, and then just start dabbing it around the pieces, hoping to get some sort of mottled random pattern. I'm just going to dab out as much paint so I don't get too much on. So now with the camo drying, I'm just going to paint up some other bits and pieces. And using the same sponge technique that I used for the camouflage, I'm just going to put a bit of silver on the sponge and just go around the edge of these green armoured pieces to indicate a bit of paint chipping. For the gloves and the shoes and a couple of extra pockets, I've just painted those using US Olive Drab, which is kind of a brownish green, darker colour to the main body armour, and given a gloss coat. And now I'm just going to dry brush on a little bit of Desert Tan, and I am using quite a bit of different colours for this. I'll put a list up in the description of all the different colours that I've used. There's always more than you think you will need for these builds. And now with all the detail paint complete, I'm going to do a wash over all of the lighter parts with Vallejo's Oiled Earth, which is my go-to wash for kind of earthy colours. It's got kind of a mix of greys and browns in there. And this just helps to bring out some of the creases and folds in the fabric. Just to tone all the colours down a little bit and blend everything together. Alright, so that's all the pieces are painted and weathered and been given a clear coat. And I've just used a couple of decals from the kit. Just that symbol there for the shoulder. And then a couple of strips of detail that were meant for the jetpack I've just used under the eyepiece of the visor here. Just for a bit of unique detail. And that's as far as markings go for this guy. And I've given everything a flat coat for the cloth pieces. I'm just using Tamiya's flat clear. And for the armoured green and bronze pieces I've just used Tamiya semi-gloss on that side. So there's just a nice mix of different reflective surfaces. And so now it's time to finally put it all together. Alright, so there he is, finally put together. And I'll just do a quick spin around because the back is going to be covered up with a bit of camouflage netting just to hide the holes for the jetpack. So you probably won't be seeing a lot of this once it's finished. And so he's almost ready for action, but of course a sniper needs a sniper rifle, so I'm going to start building that coming up next after these commercials. Okay, so for the rifle I've managed to scrape together these main parts, which is obviously the Boba Fett blaster rifle, which has got a nice scope and a stock, which I'm going to use, but of course it's much too short. It needs to be probably at least twice as long. And so for that I've just got a spare standard Stormtrooper blaster rifle, and I'll probably cut it about here and then stick the end of that onto the Boba Fett blaster. And I might modify the stock, the bipod a little bit, just to make it a bit shorter. And then this rod, which was from the Sand Trooper backpack, one of the options that I didn't use, and I may attach that to the end of this part, just to make it even longer and look a bit more lethal. But we'll see how we go. Alright, so I think I've finished building up the gun now. I was thinking of adding a few more bits and pieces, but to my eye that looks like a nice long range gun, so I think I might just leave it there before I ruin it with any more additions. And I've also removed the strap from the stock, which was getting a bit comically small for the size of the gun now. And I've given it just a light grey primer, just so I can see all the details a bit easier. So I was just thinking of ways to rebuild the strap, which is a bit more appropriate in length. And I was just rummaging through the paint drawer, and I happened to see this painting mask, which I use when I'm painting spray cans out in the garage. And the strap looks just about the right thickness and the right flexibility. So I just need to cut that to length, and now just think of a way to actually attach it to the gun itself, and hopefully that'll work. Alright, so what I ended up doing was just using the pin vise to drill in a couple of holes here and down here for the anchor points. And then I just found a bit of spare one of the braids that I didn't use for the figure. The piece that goes down there was just about the same thickness as the drill bit, so I just cut that out, and then I stuck it through the end of the elastic just to create a nice pin to glue it on there. So you've got plastic on plastic, so that'll glue in quite nicely in that hole. And then once it's glued, I'll just cut it flush, super glue the end just to keep the elastic in place, and then do the same on the other side. and hopefully it'll all hold together once it's dry. So here's the finished gun. The elastic worked out pretty good. Then I just gave it a coat of dark green, brush painted on some metallic black, dry brushed on a bit of silver, and a couple of old decals from a Shore Trooper kit, just for a bit of colour. So pretty happy with how that's come out. And it even fits on around his arm there, even though he's going to be holding it once it's finished. It's just nice to know there's the option of strapping it around there. And so now for the final part, it's time to put on some camouflage netting, which needs to cover the back and also these holes in his shoulder where the his other kind of cape type thing hang down from. So for that I'm just going to use this roll of bandage, which I just found at a supermarket, and it's just this really nice woven mesh that's quite strong but also quite flexible, so hopefully it will hang quite nicely. So I just need to cut out a nice shape that'll drape over his back and his shoulders, and then paint it. Alright, so there he is, finally put together, and I will say straight off that I'm not very happy with how the camouflage netting turned out in the end. Well, I think it's fine for the end of the blaster there. I just think the bulk of it, draped over the back, especially after it's been painted, it's ended up too thick, a bit too rigid, and the texture's not quite what I wanted. So I may end up replacing it in the future. One of the good things is I can just take it off and swap it out for the vast array of different fabrics you can buy these days. This was pretty much the first thing I tried, but I kind of just want to get this build done, get the video out, and move on to the next project, so I'm fine with it for now. But as I said, I may replace it in the future. I mean, it kind of works. It's not, I don't hate it. I did try covering up different camouflage colours with the orange, brown, and light brown, and different shades of green. So it kind of works. But yeah, I'm not 100% happy with it. But as for the figure itself, I mean, I'm more than happy with how that came out. It has been a lot more involved than other figure kits that I've built by Bandai, simply because I just had to paint everything. All the joins, some of the joins like in the feet and between the knees and the arms and all of that. And that, because these Bandai kits are so well engineered, just even a layer or two of paint can really mess up the fit. So that, that had all its own different issues than compared to previous figure kits. And so, as always, I'm interested to know what you guys think. Feel free to leave a comment in the field below, and a like or a dislike. And I look forward to reading your feedback. And as always, I'll be putting up lots of photos on my various social media networks, which I'll put links to in the description. Also on the Google Plus community page run by Ian over at IC Arts Model Kits and Sculpts, which has got well over 100 members now, so that's thriving really nicely. And yeah, I just put in another plug for that. So hopefully we'll catch you over there. And I hope you've enjoyed watching the build. And until next time, take care.